We're back here, Art of Whiskey, with the Whiskey Blendery, man. I think he found something new, and it was a barrel that you submitted to get judged, and it ended up winning gold, right?
Double gold.
Double gold, single barrel. And what was the name? What'd you name it?
Risen Rye.
Risen Rye. And the irony was, I drank this probably 3 weeks ago. I was just up behind,
I think you did.
up behind the bar, and Andy tried to guess what I was. I said, no, it was this one, Risen Rye, and it was good.
Oh, it's very good. It's outstanding.
So what were the judges judging? Why do you think it won? What makes this 327 special?
Yeah, so you never know what the judges are going to say, right? I loved this. I think this is probably our best rye whiskey that we have right now. It's 8.6 years old. I've only got two barrels. One, and we actually tried to use this barrel for Ryan's Club that did the apple brandy and the PX sherry, because this was the better of the two barrels.
Yeah.
But then when we tried to finish it in the apple brandy, because of the sweetness of this rye, which is kind of unique, it didn't play well with the apple brandy. So you've got two conflicting like sweetness that didn't blend well, didn't pair well. They just kind of fought, and then it didn't taste like anything afterwards. So kind of a lesson learned. You have to try those things. So we did a small sample, and it didn't work. I'm kind of thankful that it didn't work, because it's such a good single barrel.
Yeah.
But we always say, hey, whatever the best whiskey is here, like that's the one we're going to give you. So whatever you want, because we have so many good barrels here, I'd rather somebody get it while it's in its prime, and instead of letting it go too far. So.
And go ahead, if you don't mind, then walk them through a couple things. Now, guys, we're going to keep reiterating the importance of, first of all, you getting in here, you getting to customize your experience, you getting to pick a barrel, potentially bottle something, and even more importantly, taking something home and sharing it with friends. But as he said, some of these barrels are not to be touched. Not in the sense where you like, hey, let's blend them together. Sometimes they're as good as is. Are these all different?
Different proof points. So it's the same whiskey. So we're going to bottle that most likely at cast strength this week. So that was the only rye that we sent to New York International Spirits Competition.
Yeah.
And for the third year in a row, we won the Texas Rye Distillery of the Year based on this. So that Rye Distillery of the Year from this one bottle, and it won double gold. So it's like, what are we waiting for? Like, let's bottle it. So,
and to be clear, when you do start a distillery, do you have to select bourbon, rye, or whiskey?
Yeah, I mean, you got to buy one of them. So you got
it's personal purpose.
You got to produce. Yeah, you got to produce one of them. So yeah, it's. I intentionally bought a lot of rye, like 95% rye, because I love that mash bill, and I could get older barrels. So I mean, to have these 8 to 9 year barrels they're just so good. And this one was a good barrel, but even at 7 years old, it had like a spearmint and like a dill and kind of a grassy note that you would get in a younger rye, which I didn't like. But man, that one extra year when we opened it, it's like, oh my gosh, it turned to sweetness, and all of that like grassiness and all of that is gone. So now we're just trying to figure out, okay, is it best at cast strength? Or is it better at 120 or 115 or 110 proof? And if it performs at all of them, then I'll keep going until it doesn't taste good. So, and then I got to decide, okay, do we do it at two different proof points or what? So I'm starting at the 110 proof, and you can even see the color difference.
Yeah.
Like they get darker as you move on, but that's just because we're diluting it. We're adding distilled water to it to proof it down.
Your point in proofing it is to get more of the yield, or?
Well, that's helpful. I usually try to make the best whiskey. So sometimes if you add a little bit of water, it might open it up. Sometimes if you proof it down, it might make it taste even better.
Yeah.
So we do that on every whiskey before we bottle it. We try to bottle it at the right proof point that makes the best whiskey. So. The tough part is that this one's probably going to taste really good at all of them. So then it's not going to be definitive. But sometimes it is very definitive. Like, whoa, at 120 is the sweet spot. So we're gonna bottle it at 120. I know it's good at proof or cast strength.
And you sent it at cast strength to win.
I sent it at cast strength to win.
Why play with it at all? It's already a winner.
Yeah, well, I mean, everybody's got their opinion, right? Like, so.
He's a tinkerer, man. You know, like that guy that's a perfectionist. He's like, let me just see.
I sent it in because it was a great whiskey, and I don't need them to tell me it's a great whiskey because I already knew. But now that I'm focused on that barrel, now I want to like play with it a little bit just to make sure. So I think cast strength was close to 130 proof on that, like 127, 128. So yeah, that's not that rules a couple people out. So you know how many people walk in and say, hey, I want a bourbon. What bourbons do you got? So if I say, hey, try this rye at close to 130 proof, then in their mind, they're, no, I don't even want to try that. So it opens it up to a bigger audience if it's a little lower proof.
Yeah.
But again, we bottle the best whiskey, so regardless of what the proof is, then the people will find that whiskey regardless. So, but yeah, I think it's going to be good at all of them. Yeah, it's so good. It will be good at all of them.
You can taste. So you tasted the one that was proved down the most.
Yeah.
Which means going up from here just means it gets better because you know what it tastes.
Necessarily. That's what we're figuring out.
All right, let's see.
So if it did that, then why would I even be doing this test if it always got better?
This is perfect then. He's going to walk us through it, people. We are learning something today.
Yep. Yeah, and it's man, it's so full-bodied and like just full of flavor even at 110. It's kind of wild. Normally you prove it down and like then it loses some of its character, its depth, the finish will shorten and fall flat sometimes, but man, that thing is really good at 110. And I think it's I mean, my personal preference is probably going to be at cast strength. So we'll see. Maybe we do 2 releases on it. I don't know.
There you go. It's good to make them faces, man.
Wow. Gosh. Yeah, so 110's out. That is, it got much more sweet. Like, man, it's like caramely at the 115 proof. That changed it a lot.
Damn.
Man, it's so, oh my gosh. That is going forever. Dude.
You know, it's always a good day when you're in a house full of whiskey. You get to taste a little bit of whiskey, man, see what's going on. And the beauty about this whole thing is we're learning, more importantly, how to enjoy and just slow down and, you know, one sip at a time when it comes to this whiskey. The minute it hits your tongue, it tastes, I don't want to say it tastes like sugar, but if you were a person, because it's not a bourbon.
No, there's no corn in this.
And if you were a bourbon drinker, and I just learned about this recently, and mind you, I've had sweet corn, so you said 51% corn, you know what it should taste like. But this
is even sweeter than that one.
This right here, I mean,
knows that. Like, that is like,
oh man, that literally smells like caramel.
I know. Yeah.
I mean, like if you,
which is so off profile of a 95% rye whiskey for it to nose like caramel.
I think this guy,
and for you to be able to tell that it noses like caramel, then you know it's caramel.
Look, I think this guy's got something going on because he keeps finding all these rare barrels that nobody else gets their hand on.
Man, I think there's more rare barrels out there but people don't spend the time to like find out why they're rare. Like if they're making a big batch or like just, you know, got to sell bottles, they're throwing them all in. And I mean, we spend a lot of time with every barrel in here. Man. So we determine what's a good whiskey. And then we'll spend a day, all of us, just, you know, talking about this, putting notes down, trying at different proof points, and then even picking out a couple complementary barrels that we think might even make this better. So as good as this is, I probably won't tinker with it.
Yeah, no. If it's like that, and you said that's one what?
This is 120 proof that you nosed.
Yeah.
And then was getting sweeter.
It was, look.
Golly, man, that is.
You know, we learned about this when we came here. Adding that distilled water it opens up the whiskey sometime, and that's what happens. It changes flavors as you proof it down, or if you add an ice cube in a sense, right? But that right there, the nose on it alone, I never even knew that whiskey had a smell to it. I got to be honest with you guys, man. I never stopped to smell whiskey a day in my life until we walked in here. Well, we went to a distillery, but it wasn't great. But we learned here, even more importantly, how to be a little bit more meticulous about what we're tasting, smelling, the flavor, etc.
So that one's interesting. So that one is sweeter, but that extra 5 proof points, it gives you an alcohol burn that you didn't have at 115.
You know,
meaning that one drinked fairly soft, and this one is it has like a punch on your palate.
Yeah.
It's still a flavor bomb, but there's a huge jump just in those 5 proof points.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can't tell, but there's a big jump.
No. So when we start talking about the spice and rye, you go, okay, you could legitimately, like you just said, I felt the burn, which isn't a bad thing. I definitely felt the spice, and it's not like I ate pepper, but on that other one that we tried, it was pure candy. I mean, just like if you ate some caramel candy and it was,
Yeah, and there's a difference between like an alcohol burn and then a burn from it being young, because it being young whiskey and it kind of, that has a sting to it.
Yeah.
Versus like just a proof, like higher proof sting. So this has a higher proof sting, which I'm curious on what the cask strength. Tony, did you proof the cask strength? What did that come in at?
125.80.
125. Okay. I was thinking it was closer to 127, 128. And this is barrel 327.
Correct.
Okay. I mean, it's even sweeter on the cask strength. Like what's weird is there's no ethanol on the nose. Like
not that.
It's almost like a sleeper when you
that
smell it. It's sweet
like
and like almost like
marshmallows or something.
like a liqueur almost.
Yeah.
Because there's no alcohol, there's no ethanol on the nose.
Man,
it's just so sweet candy. And then when you try it, it's almost like, whoa, what did I just put in my mouth?
I've been trying to basically find the words that I want to use in this, but Tim keeps it pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward. And as he said, there's a couple things you're going to smell. You're going to smell either something spicy, something very alcoholic, or in this case, something that smells like candy, depending on where it's proofed at. So once again, he proved me wrong, because I thought, man, why would you do that if it's perfect? You go, it changed. And this one right here, super good. This one right here, they're all good, to be clear. But that one right there, if I had, you would think that was a bourbon.
Yeah, so try that. So
you would literally.
I love the nose on this, but yeah, I'm saying those are out in the 115 or the cask strength, because that one's actually easier to drink to me than the 120.
Yeah. So in this case, I got the burn on the 120 at the front of my mouth. Now I get it on the finish. I'm feeling it at the back of my tongue.
Yep.
And me personally, especially since meeting Tim, I let it sit in the front first. And if it starts like numb in my mouth, it's not the feeling I want.
Yeah.
But that changed a lot.
Yeah. So now we'll probably reset and then do it again at 115 and again at cask strength and then probably wait a couple hours too.
So tell them, and let's close this one out. What's the trick then to picking a great barrel? Deep breath.
Yeah. So picking a great barrel for me when you're in this space.
Yeah, go ahead. If you're in here and you're trying to pick a good barrel, great barrel.
Yeah, well, I guess your definition of good matters. So I'm a little more picky than most, because I know the quality of barrels that are in here.
Yeah.
So when I taste something that drinks a little hotter, drinks young, then like we'll just forget about it for like a year. Like we'll just tag it and, hey, this barrel number is not ready. But then if it is ready, so yeah, I mean, how well balanced it is. For me, kind of I try not to overthink it, because so many people are like, oh man, I can pull out 20 different things and lotus flowers and this and that, and it's like, I don't know, man. Sometimes I can pull out 5 or 6 things on it, but when I'm trying it, is my immediate reaction like to get excited? Is my immediate reaction to say, wow. Like, so I try not to overthink anything. I try to just like drink it and like, is this a unique thing that I'm excited about? To me, that makes it a good barrel. So maybe that's when you say, hey, why do you have all these crazy unique barrels in here? And maybe that's when I'm tasting them. Like, we don't bottle it unless it's unique. If it's like everything else that you can buy at a big box store, then that's a blender for us. Even if it's a really good whiskey, then you can get that anywhere. So we're passing on that barrel. When we have a very unique barrel like this, that's like best in class and drinks like a bourbon, but it's a rye and like, you know, all these things, like, then it's like, okay, we're gonna focus on that barrel, and we're gonna find it exactly right where it needs to be. But if it's a mainstream barrel that I've had before, it doesn't get me excited, or it's like everything else, then I pass on those. So yeah, maybe that's the difference.
Yeah. That's a huge difference, people. Well, again, I want to keep reiterating as we continue to put out stuff and get you guys, hopefully, in this particular wonderful whiskey house here. You get to come in and tinker, and I've recently learned, and when I say recent, guys, I'm a month and a weekend, the importance of enjoying, embracing, distilling, proofing, pacing yourself, joining this marathon of let's connect people to whiskey and let's learn as much as we can and let's have a good time. Picking some barrels and making some magic. Now, let's keep it whiskey, man. Until next time.
Going back to that one.